Hello Internet, I have seized control of the Tabletop Life camera for a little while to talk to you guys about Necrons. Do not adjust whatever it is that you're watching this on. I'm Walter, a Necron player from Atlanta. With me is this guy. He doesn't play Necrons, and so his questions will be perhaps representative of a broader and uneducated... No, that's not fair. An unfulfilled... No, still doesn't got it. What would you say?
I would say that was quite an intro, and thank you for that. I'm Colin, otherwise known as this guy for the rest of this video. No, I don't play Necrons. I play against them, and so I ask lots of, hey Walter, what does this do questions? And that's essentially what this is going to be, is...
I lie constantly to him, but to you, Internet, I will tell the truth. Because you'll catch me if I lie. There are so many of you.
There are, it's true. And I'll find out after the game, and then I'll come after you.
Yeah, 50-50. Like, comment, and subscribe, I think. I don't know how you do those things. Anyway, the point is, Necrons, we got a new Codex. It's been a week, so I'm going to talk about it. This is not... I assume that you have read the Codex at this point. I'm just giving you my thoughts on it, because I love talking about Necrons. So,
where would you like to begin?
Let's talk at the beginning. It would be really funny if we start at the end, but we're not going to do that because this is serious content.
And also, what is the end of Necrons? They kind of live forever. There's no real end.
Millions of years would be weird.
Yeah, we're here a long time.
Anyway, army-wide special rule. We get D3 wounds back at the start of the turn. That's bad. It's not a good army-wide special rule.
There's a good part to it. Don't leave out the good part.
Right. What is that?
The good part is it brings models back. It's not just we grow back wounds.
Yes. Okay. The point is, I mean, everybody knows this, but like, as a faction, you shouldn't expect Necrons to ever be at the top because our army-wide special rule is not as strong as some other ones, so we will always be imbalanced in favor of whatever our best formation is, and that's easily adjusted in patches. So
he's hedging his bets for the fact that Wraith are amazing. We'll get there.
Anyway, that's the Army Special Rule, reanimation protocols. Let's talk about formations. The first formation we're going to talk about is the oldest formation, the Awakened Dynasty.
We're going to pause, and we're going to do that again, and this is going to get edited because they're called detachments.
Okay.
And you have to say that on the internet correctly.
Right. These detachments, which we will not be editing, is called the Awakened Dynasty, and this is actually... one of the better ones. I feel like we're all going to jump to the new hotness, then we're going to drift casually back, because Awakened Dynasty has a good rule. It has +1 to hit, and it's on Warriors and Immortals and Lich Guard and both flavors of Destroyers, shooting and fighting, which is essentially the workhorses of your army.
Anything a Necron character can lead, right?
Yeah, so those units. Yeah. Potentially others if I missed any, but I think, Wraiths nowadays. But anyway, those are good rules. As far as the strats go, I like 4 of them. Eternal, Undying, Conquering, and Sudden. I've used all those many times during games. I feel like Hungry Void is the iffy, sometimes gets used. Vengeful Stars, not really a thing. It feels like the army got nerfed a little when they changed reroll wounds to reroll hits in the new Codex with the shooting strat. But with how much lethal we have, honestly, I think it's better.
Well, hold on, don't rush back them too fast. Why do you like those 4? Talk me through, like, why are we using those?
Alright, so, Resurrecting from the Dead, that strat, obviously, you know,
cool.
if people are shooting and killing a model on an objective, but they don't have someone nearby to charge, you still hold it, that's great. Or if it's Luminor Xeros, he's just a tank, and coming back with 5 wounds is incredibly rough. So that's just a great strat. It's been improved, so it happens at the end of the phase now, we all love that. The reanimation protocols one, that's good. It just makes it harder to finish off units, especially if you have a nearby reanimation protocol. Another area of disagreement, I like reanimators, he doesn't.
I think they're not going to keep up with the things you care about, right? And we might get there.
They're so fast.
Wait, hold on. How fast is a reanimator?
8.
That's real fast?
Speed 8, it's fast.
Okay.
And it's a Canoptic model, so if you're in a Canoptic court, you can do the things that you do with Canoptic models.
I understand.
Alright. He doesn't. This just me and you, Internet. He doesn't hear that part. Anyway, the standing up protocol is good. The reanimation protocol is pretty good. That might be medium. The reroll hits is obviously really good in an army where casually you can be lethal on 5s. And then the last one I thought was good is Sudden Storm. Sudden Storm makes your guns assault, so you can do secondary stuff. That's often necessary. You'll find yourself doing that.
You also get to reroll advances. It's a nice little cherry on top, right? I mean, you're auto-moving 6 on
only
some
if
of
the
them,
unit
but...
is led. But
sure. but that's kind of the whole shtick, right? Is I put characters in my units do cool stuff.
Yeah, but typically those units in an Awakened Dynasty want to be working and putting the +1 to hit to work. This is more the sort of thing you use on, a Tomb Spider or a...
Well, except you're also giving them assault, right? So I can take my big brick of I need to murder you and move that much farther.
That's true.
Which...
Yeah, it's good. So those are 4 good strats.
The odds you have to get around one of these walls.
Hungry Void can be good. I usually want to spend a CP to get improvement on a pip. And it, sometimes the strength improvement isn't enough and sometimes the AP isn't enough, so it just doesn't help.
What is a pip?
On a dice, there are 6 faces. When I say a pip, I mean it's improved your score by 1 dice. You need three dice rolls, hit, wound, save to successfully do anything. Improving a pip on one of those 3 is usually enough for me to spend CP. I get out of bed for a pip.
Okay. Did you want to talk about the enhancements at all in here?
I did, yes.
Yeah, go.
I think there are 2 that are pretty good. The Veil and the Casket are both, take them every time you make an Awakened Dynasty. The Bond, if you take a CCB, a Catacomb Command Barge, then you want the Bond.
How expensive is the Casket?
The Casket, I don't know how expensive it is, but
I think it's like 15, 20, somewhere there.
It gives you +1 to hit on things that are not lead, but in Awakened Dynasty you will tend to not have a lot of things that are not lead that you want to do work. You'll mostly be doing work with lead things.
Sure.
Now back in the day, it let them use the better version of the strats, but it no longer does that, so I kind of give it a nice now. So that's the Awakened Dynasty. I feel like that's among our top formations.
Now we get to, if we're going in order, the worst one?
Yes.
Probably the worst one?
Absolutely. The Annihilation Legion is bad. It only applies to a small number of units, Locusts and Locust Heavy, Ophidians, Scorpex.
Flayed ones.
So that's a fairly small pool of units to work with, and what it gives them is not necessarily what they want. It gives them reroll charges and +1 to hit if the enemy's already half dead.
It reminds me actually a lot of Vanguard and Mids, where it's like you've taken all models that I think are really cool in this fun little subset of the army, and given them a thing that in your head when you were designing, you're like, this is a thing that would be really cool if I had this, and then you forgot that army-wide rules, like detachment rules, need to be really, really good. Like they're the baseline that you build around, and this is like a third of my army, maybe, is going to have this rule.
And beyond that, you can recover from a bad army-wide special rule in a formation if the strats are amazing and the other things are good, but in Annihilation, Solus is the only enhancement that I like. The one where they're unable to fall back on a 3+. That's the only one that I, in an imaginary meta detachment where you could take everything. That's the only one that would be potentially making it. That's 1 out of 4. That's not great. And then I don't think they have a good strat. I think they have 3 mediocre ones.
Are they really all bad? Hold on. I'm sure. Keep talking. Yeah. I'm gonna go read these. Are you sure?
Yeah, they don't have a good one. I have 3 categories: good, medium, bad.
Sure.
I think they have 3 mediums and 3 bads. The Masks, I think -1 to hit is a medium strat. That's fine. Spore, it's great when it works fully, +1 to hit and wound, but it's really hard to do that, and more often it's just +1 to hit, and you would already have that if you were in the Awakened detachment, so and then Murderous is,
Yeah, you're right, these are all terrible.
It's fine, but the guys who want their reanimation protocol to go off are near a reanimator. Destroyers are not often near a reanimator, and, it's nothing. And then Pitiless, Bleed, and Insanity are all just bad strats. So, no good strats, 1 good enhancement, a bad rule, and when this is a small pool of units being affected, throw it out. If we imagine what a good destroyer detachment
try to make it work
like, you need to really turbocharge the Scorpex and Locusts, who you're putting characters in, because they're the ones that are getting the enhancements. You need, the army-wide rule is a reroll to wound or something. You need strats to give you advance in charge or fall back in charge. They need to put serious horsepower behind this detachment. It's just not there.
I feel like the best one of these has to be, you get to move 6 occasionally, which gets you onto objectives, which can matter, right? But you're so far down a rabbit hole at that point.
It's in a world where people are failing to kill your destroyer units.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not the world that you and I live in.
Absolutely not.
Take it over.
All right, moving over. We are to the Canoptic Court, the real.
I think that this is a little overhyped for now, but this may be my special snowflake tendencies.
It absolutely is. This is Walter being a special snowflake.
In any case, this is just the one that when you read the Codex, you're like, oh yes, obviously that. So The special rule for the Canoptek Court also affects only a small subsection of your army, about the same size, but what it gives them they want, right?
Well, and everything in that section is really good.
Yes. So all of those Canoptek models do want their accuracy to improve, because they're bad accuracy, and your rolls to hit, that's better than Awaken gives them with a +1. They all, if their character's led by Cryptex, they're probably doing lethals. It gives them the rerolls, which makes lethals better, you know, or sustained, right? Like it's exactly a perfect faction trait. And then it has 2 good enhancements: the Sanctum and the Fulcrum. I'm sorry, the Dimensional Sanctum, right?
Yeah, Dimensional Sanctum.
Dimensional Sanctum is Infiltrate, and Fulcrum is reroll wounds. You couldn't design better enhancements. The other 2 aren't. Okay, the Tesla Weave is pretty bad, but the other one that gives you CPs is fine.
Auto Divinator is better than reroll ones to win a 1 unit. Come on.
Man, I like to reroll wounds. Anyway.
Really? You like? Hold on. We're gonna stop here for a second. You have great stratagems. We'll talk about the stratagem, but they're great. You're gonna be at 0 CP all the time forever.
Right, but I'm also taking Imhotep, so I can't get the auto damage.
Okay, sure, yes. If you're taking Imhotep, that's absolutely worthless. But however, Imhotep's 100 points. This isn't 100 points. It's like 20 points.
Yep.
It's like a very budget Imhotep for almost the same ability 80% of the time. How is your opponent gaining CP?
He's making a lot of sense.
I try.
This guy coming soon to a theater near you.
Okay, great. Love being that guy. Talk about the strats, because I'm hyping up the strats.
I rate 4 of the strats as good and 2 as medium. I don't think they have a bad strat. All right, I would say that Cynosure, Solar Pulse, Reactive, and Countertemporal Shift are all good strats. You know, all strats that you'll want to do every single turn.
The fact that your reactive is 1 CP, having just played Tyranids for a while for me, and mine's 2,
range.
I'm offended by it. And you have my Lone Op. Again, the Necrons have taken all the cool things from my Tyranid Vanguard and just made them better.
To be cool, you previously compared your Vanguard to my Annihilation Legion. My Annihilation Legion would do unspeakable things to be as good as your Vanguard. Right?
Questionable, but we move on.
In any case, that's 4 amazing strats. Lone Op, games are won by Lone Op. Move after the enemy moves. You know, it's easy to win. Paper Rock Scissors when you play second.
And also, it's Eldar, right? It's what the list of 12 things that make Eldar unbeatably good.
Yeah,
you know,
we've got half of them. Yeah, it's wild. Solar Pulse. This kid actually is probably the most questionable member of the good 4 because a lot of Necron guns are AP0, so cover doesn't actually help as much for many things because they're already a 3-up save. But it can matter, and you are almost certainly taking Luminar Xerath since he's a Cryptek. You know, having him in an army nearby gives you that AP1. So, it's all good stuff.
The Curse of the Cryptek is funny.
Yeah, I put it at medium. To be clear, it's incredibly good, but it is under your opponent's control.
I mean, yes and no, right? Imagine a world where Angron's a bad example because he dies and comes back, but someone has some equivalently 500-point model, and you're like, I'd really love to have +1 to hit and wound against that roll. Here's a Plasmancer. Done.
Right, but you brought a Plasmancer and then didn't attach him to a unit for this play. And
but it's also, 45 points? 50 points?
Plasmancers, I think, are 55.
Okay.
You would probably do a Psychomancer, honestly, because he's a huge pain and getting near the enemies, and also your other guys are in units.
Yeah.
But
conceptually speaking, if you came to me at the start of every game and said, would you like to spend 50 points, take it out of your army, and pick an enemy unit to have +1 to hit and wound, I'd be like, yeah, probably.
Yes,
that's probably a trade I would do.
But you have to get to that guy and he has to kill you.
And,
doing so might give him the movement. It's a very...
Sure, it is not as good as I'm describing, but it is very good.
I'm still calling it medium. Sure. And the reason I call it medium is that after that incredibly complicated gate of they have to kill your guy, +1 to hit and wound is a totally insane benefit that you would spend a CP to get that for 1 phase against an enemy model.
For one unit.
Yeah, for 1 unit. You would immediately do that, right? So, Curse of the Cryptek, if it goes off, is a deranged bonus.
Yeah. I mean, we just skipped over the fact that we have dev wounds on a stick.
Oh, yeah. It's 2 CPs, which is a lot, but they are free strat guys. But having them means you don't have a Royal Warden. We'll get into the particular pain of that decision. It's a genuinely hard
Your love for the Royal Warden cannot be overstated.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because I will try.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, dev wounds on a stick is great. Obviously, if a unit is on an objective, you've got a unit of Immortals, and they're like, we're rerolling hits because of Power Matrix. We're doing things on a 5 because we've got a Psychomancer, and we're doing dev wounds. Sorry. I scare quoted dev wounds for no reason. But you're doing dev wounds rerolling, and you do like 12 to 14 mortal wounds on anyone. Yeah. It's just the best. Yeah. But
12 to 14 mortal wounds.
That unit is also extremely fragile and can't fall back and do things like they have counterplay. In any case, Canoptic Court is just the out of the gate favorite for best Necron unit. I've seen it stumbling some on a bunch of stream games, and I think that it
what were they playing?
Lacks a lot. Space Marines, and the other one was Chaos Space Marines.
Okay.
I think it lacks somewhat in its punching power, and you tend to put a lot of points in rates that are sort of able to get tackled by rhinos and stuff. But
did they have the Nightbringer?
Yes. But after the game, the Art of War guys were like, well, we're certainly taking him out.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
But they made the point that he costs as much as a unit of rates, which does not necessarily do much for my art. But in any case, I feel that the overall, this is the one to beat. Like, if you just assume that a Necron player is going to show up with 3 units of rates maxed out, 3 units of Scarabs, and 2 units of Immortals, and 300 points of their choice, you're probably going to be right a significant number at a time. That is a tournament list that wins, a sizable number of games.
I don't think we've seen people talking about the Scarabs yet, though. I think you're correct that they will be included. Yeah. That is a tech choice that I don't think the initial analysis people have gotten to it, but in iteration, it will be 18 Scarabs.
Yeah, once you see them on the table, you will.
Yeah, for sure.
When I am looking at Overlords, I'm like, I don't know. It's because he's the cost of a max unit of Scarabs.
Yeah. Is it? So I've already forgotten this, and I think you've told me. Do Scarabs get OC in? They
get OC if they're within range of a Cryptek guy. You get some OC1.
Yeah.
And if they're around a CCB, which probably won't be in the Canoptic Court, but that's another way for them to get one. So.
And they also still have their having mechanic, right?
-1.
-1. Better than having sometimes? Does it have a minimum of 0?
Never better. Yeah, no, it can't go to 0.
Oh, it can't go to 0. Okay, then it's not better, but it's still quite good, right?
If you're like, we're a unit of OC2 guys because we're elite soldiers, and they're like, now you're OC1 and we are 1, and there's a guard, so we are 2. You're like, I hate this.
Yeah, I mean funny. The barge makes it a little contrived, but in general, I think the Scarabs just being able to take objectives and be that durable for their points is kind of silly.
This is a game about putting out the unit first that makes the other player expose their real stuff.
Start trading.
And Scarabs are an amazing thing to be like, my opening bid is a unit of Scarabs and a Luminor Xeros on this point. And you're like, well, it takes half my armor shooting to kill him and he'll stand up.
Yeah, at least half. Some people just can't do it. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes.
Obsessence Phalanx.
Obeisance.
Obeisance. See,
I
learning
very confidently said that. I could be wrong. Internet, if I am, never tell me.
No.
Let me
get in the comments. To quote one of my favorite people on the internet, get in the comments.
That's fair. That I'm also a fan of. Anyway, Obeisance Phalanx is my pet list. I love it and wanted to triumph.
You played it tonight.
I did play it tonight. It won.
Yeah.
Obeisance Phalanx is a list that buffs Triarch models, Overlord models, and Lichguard models. So you've got your Lichguard, anybody who can be joined by an Overlord, the Triarch Praetorians, and the Triarch Stalker. Insanely, you currently don't have the Silent King or either of the named
as either Triarch or Overlord.
Many people believe,
many people,
including myself and now him, that soon this will be corrected. But for now, you don't have that. In any case, you're still going to want him. Anyway, Obeisance Phalanx, in my opinion, has two good enhancements. The Eternal whatever. Thank you.
Eternal Conqueror?
Yep. Warrior Noble and Eternal Conqueror.
Okay.
-1 to fight. Lichguard are trying to be tough. That's good for them. And rerolling hits on guys and objectives. You love that. Their strats are nothing to write home about. I feel like they've got 3 good ones. Nano assembly protocols. Territorial, whatever.
-1 damage on vehicles is cool, especially in the thing where you're also taking the Silent King almost certainly eventually.
Yes.
And it's just
you can give
Silent King's -1
Yeah. It's a huge
damage.
In my previous game, he walked down the throat of a guard army and they choked on him. It was pretty great.
Wow. I'm not sold on the whole Warrior Noble thing.
That's fair.
How often is someone just going to shoot a Lichguard unit to death?
When they can.
Well, okay, how often is that?
Lichguard tend to live behind walls and stuff, but obviously when someone can shoot Lichguard, they like to shoot Lichguard. But you don't hate them shooting Lichguard because Lichguard are cheap. You've got 30. If they shoot them to death,
that is true. They are
it's
cheap.
-1 to hit, and a sizable amount of time people will charge them.
Okay, fair enough.
I could if the points run out, I'm not dying for the -1, but the reroll hits one, I'll go to bat for it. That's just necessary.
Sure.
Anyway, Enslaved, what was the...
Enslaved Artifice.
If you bring units that care about critical hits, you're going to want Enslaved Artifice as a strat to use. So that's 3 good strats, and you probably do have critical hits. Sentinels, I think, is...
Sentinels of Eternity.
Sentinels of Eternity. When that comes up, it's big. Someone's like, I'm going to charge and kill your 10 Lich Guard.
Fight on Death is cool.
I'm going to fight with 5 of them. That kills, X number of your models.
Are all the Fight on Death abilities at this point on 4-ups, or any of them still automatic?
I don't remember. I have a vague sense that the
Votann one is on 4s.
I think the Genestealer Cult has some guys who just fight on death.
Sure.
I'm not sure if that's true, though. In any case, the other 2 I think are pretty bad. Suffer and Your Time is Nigh.
Precision is one of those abilities that is almost always completely useless and very occasionally really important.
Well, yeah.
Amusingly, actually, the Necron mirror where someone brought the court, just very important.
These 5 guys, I need to get assassinated. There's a phalanx I'll never grind through, but they're going to charge and call out the Plasmancer and put swords in him. Yeah.
Again,
it can matter. It's not bad to keep in your pocket, but I think it's bad because most games won't use it. And similarly, Your Time is Now. Sure, that's cool, but I'm not in a close game. I wouldn't spend a CP on it.
Yeah, no, not so much.
All right.
Anything else in here? Moving on.
I like this. I just want to emphasize the Silent King with -1 damage is crazy. And rerolling hits and wounds because you're near the Silent King is a great feeling with a +1 to wound because it makes things get really wild. Rerolling hits versus someone objective with a +1 to wound. This is a damage buff that really matters and has legs.
Oh, yeah.
But this is still a pet list. This is not as good as the Canoptic Court or the Awakened Legion just out of the box.
Sure.
You don't assume it's as good. Fair. Hilariously, it might still be the best place for a monolith because -1 damage is that good.
-1 damage is, it is really good. I think the meta has shifted a little bit so that the things that are killing vehicles, it's not like 2s and 3s anymore. It's like D6 +4, die.
Yeah, but this also happens in the fighting phase, and there's a lot of 2 damage punchers.
That is true.
In any case, keep your eyes on it. A random build that uses, Overlord's leading units that are warped through a monolith may come to soon to basins near you.
Speaking of warping through monoliths, what a good transition.
I love monoliths.
I want you to tell me how cool this is, because when you talk to me about it, I'm like, this sounds really neat, but I can't picture it. So talk about it.
What you said earlier when you were like, on the back of a good rule, you can lift your army to the heavens.
Yes.
This rule lets Necrons attack first.
Yeah.
We are an army that is made to be on the back foot, and this is like, go ahead, be on the front foot.
Yep.
People are not ready. Now, I've only done this with non-tournament players so far, but when you're just like, okay, it's, top 2, I'm going to deep strike in your zone 3 inches away from you, a 20-man warrior brick. We're going to fire and then move 5 inches, thereby taking, your primary almost unstoppably. People are like, I hated that, and that unit's re-rolling hits because they warped in. And then you're like, also 9 inches away from you, a monolith has appeared, and it ports over another unit that is within 3 inches of you. Those guys shoot, and then they move 5 inches.
Those get within 3 because the monolith comes in outside 9, and then units that come out of it aren't required to have the restriction.
They just have to be within 6 of it. So.
Oh, okay, so it's net 3.
So you've just been shot by 40 warriors from 3 inches away, and then they walked over your bodies and took your objectives.
Yeah.
And then the monolith shoots, and it's towering, so it shoots someone in, and it tries to charge someone. And we haven't talked about 2 of the hypercrypt placements.
That's true. We are 1 hypercrypt deployment in.
The other 2 are like a unit of Locust Heavy Destroyers suddenly have line in your tank and it explodes. It's a very offensively rough thing if the other player is. There are lists that just cannot handle that, where you're just like, my army's spread out kind of evenly over 3 objectives. Now one of them has 40 warriors and a monolith. And you're like,
it's not quite as cool as the Grey Knight one because everyone's deep striking Grey Knights, but the monolith I feel like solves that problem. I know the answer is no, but I just want to mention it. Is there a world in which the Night Scythe is like, I'm going to teleport people through here because...
So, I think if you want the Night Scythe, this faction gives it a 1 CP strat to get a 4-up invul save.
Okay.
It warps in on the first turn, so on the second turn they can be going through it.
Yep.
But you're very much already getting people close to people and shooting them.
It's not worth it already.
It's not that big of a deal.
Sure.
And it's an OC0 model. I don't know.
Someone was going to think, can I do this with a Night Scythe? So.
Also, PSA or Hyper, this is for the enemies of the Necrons. People who are, just being overjoyed by the power of the Hypercrypt, will try and hit you with the charge strat after you go through a monolith, after the monolith is deep striked. That charge strat, the corridor one, what is it? Dimensional corridor. The monolith has to start the turn on the table. It can't land and do that. You can't just get score-pecked in your own zone for no reason. You have to fail to kill the monolith at a turn after it comes down.
Yeah. Monolith started the turn on the battlefield. Very explicit.
Yes.
I'm certain, actually, I would bet any amount of money that when GW first wrote this strat, that addendum wasn't on there, and then someone did that, and they were like, okay, no, we're adding that. We're adding that right now.
So, for as good as I think the basic rule is of the Hypercrypt, and the Hypercrypt is the last member of the trio of, like, these might be the best. There's, out in front, Canoptic Court, gaining on it quickly, Hypercrypt, stalwart contender from beyond, the Awakened Legion. That was a horse race metaphor? People don't watch. Anyway.
They could be from Kentucky.
The Arisen Tyrant, that is a complimentary reference. We respect people from all states.
We do.
Except wherever...
Georgia?
That guy.
5 miles from here?
Okay.
Like...
Now you're showing off. The Arisen Tyrant and the Fulcrum, you know, the one that gives you deep strike, and the one that says if you appear on the army this turn, you reroll your hits. Those are enhancements you're taking every Hypercrypt army. The other two I could miss.
The Fulcrum does let you have one unit pretend to be Grey Knights.
Yeah, that's
would that be what, 20 warriors? Yeah. You do that?
I would do 20 warriors.
Better than 10 immortals?
10 immortals deliver excellent firepower, but I think
less durability.
Yeah, dramatically.
Yeah, dramatically less durability.
They're practically fragile. Like people talk about the durability of immortals, and you're like, you've never people will throw grenades and you will lose half your
immortal unit.
They have no wounds; they're just gone.
Yeah.
Stormbolters.
And they're roughly the same. Warriors are a bit more expensive.
Warriors are 10 points per wound. Immortals are 14, so a max unit of Immortals is 140, max unit of Warriors is 200.
Yeah.
But the Warriors are
But it's like a meaningful difference. Yeah.
Is there double the wounds?
Is there any other unit you would put the I do strike every turn thing on? The Fulcrum?
Most other things are able to get angles or distance, but Shotgun Warriors just have to be up on it.
Yeah.
So, also their strats, I think Cosmic Precision is a grade A strat. I think every round you're doing Cosmic Precision until you can't do any more Cosmic Precision. Entropic is the one that gives you all the guns you're shooting your monolith as are hazardous, I think is fun. That's a medium. I call the rest of
yeah, that's a fun one.
I mean, it's real in that, like, someone's like, my Lehman Russ is going to kill your monolith, and you're like, cool, I use this power on you, you've got 5 guns, you know, you're going to take 6 mortals. Like,
okay, fair.
Because they don't have to be shooting at you. If they shoot and one of them targets you, you just choose it, right? You know, they have to be within 18 inches of you, but after you land and charge, everybody, you know, monoliths are huge. The other 4 I rate pretty bad because they require that your monolith be alive, and I feel like people don't let that happen. People evaporate monoliths.
You just take 3. They're not 300 points, are they?
No one would take 3 monoliths.
No one. The guy who went top 8 at Cherokee with 3 monoliths and 3 obelisks? Or was it 3 or 2?
It was 3.
And then...
No, it was 3 and 2 in Silent King, I think, at Cherokee. Anyway.
Yeah.
The point is...
It's absolutely a thing you're gonna do.
I love big Necron models, and will take them if I can be remotely excused. But currently at 350 points, and just the game being... It's just Rocket Tag out here, man. The monolith surviving with -1 damage and a 6-up feel no pain is questionable. 3 monoliths where 2 of them have no defensive buffs, evaporated.
Unless you're playing against Tyranids, in which case you're absolutely not going to do it. But.
Well, there are probably dangerous Tyranid builds. I don't know about bugs. But I think that's all the formations. We'll be right back after we talk about data sheets.
We are recording.
All right, we're back.
We have a Walter. I'm so sorry for all of you.
From your perspective, I suppose we never left.
Well, we live in the infinite ether that is YouTube, right? Like, we're not real humans. These are just AIs.
I thought it was.
No,
really...
you're a Necron player. You knew you were a robot.
Come on. That's true. I support the idea that Necron players are entirely artificial.
Yep.
In any case, the first unit we've got up is the Silent King. I think the Silent King is still viable and strong in a list if you build around him. I think he lives in an army that is built to be.
Did he get any worse? Like he was playable last edition.
His ability to buff melee attacks now better. His +1 leadership is, I think, not as good as just making someone unbattle shocked at the end of the phase, but what you mostly want him for is just breaking people and re-rolling now that he does it on melee attacks that's gotten stronger.
Yeah, I mean,
he's also now got detachments that defend him with -1 damage, which is, if you want him, the Obeisance Phalanx is his natural home, especially if GW decides that
he actually gets his rules.
He gets to be an overlord.
I mean, he's still got his, rail guns that float around with him and all that.
It's never not funny to be like, blah.
That is a correct description of both what it feels like and what it sounds like. Like, that is the sound that I think that beam makes.
I mean, if you have 3 units of Lichguard with him, hanging out with him, because why wouldn't you?
I mean,
and
why?
They shoot their wrist rockets at someone. You're like, well, they hit on 2s and they reroll 1s, and they've got +1 to wound, and they're strength 16, AP 5, and they reroll 1s to wound.
Yeah.
The guy's like, okay, I guess I take 3 invul saves or 3d6
damage.
plus 6 damage.
Yeah, like, why?
The Russ explodes, and you charge the guys inside.
Yeah.
There are no guys inside Russes. I guess
there are, but they die.
We get it. Anyway, the Silent King, every time I've played... Okay. In my lexicon, when someone's points per wound is as bad as the Silent King's, right? Because he has a very bad point per wound ratio.
I feel like you need to explain your points per wound theory.
Points per wound theory. My theory of 40k is that you want to spend and get as many points per wound as you can. So models that have got great points per wound, I like, which is to say they are 10 or fewer points per wound. Those are good. Up to 12 is medium. Beyond 12 is iffy. Beyond 15, what are you doing? The Silent King is well beyond. But he is so good, and I've quantified it. Ready? I talked right over you, and I'm very sorry about that.
That's all good.
The Silent King can buff multiple units in a 6-inch aura, and is also himself an incredibly powerful piece. That's my standard. If you are yourself a very powerful piece and you buff multiple units, I will pay more than 15 points per wound for you.
He's also not that much higher, right? He's 26 wounds and 350 points.
Right? No, he's 400.
400? Right? Okay. Yeah, that's pretty high. I will say that I think there's been some points inflation or deflation, I guess, going on, where I think your 10 per is a little...
Necrons are just a little expensive. Necrons, we have big area on the board, which is bad, and we have sort of expensive models, which is bad, but also we have some pretty good rules. So, like I said before, this is not an army that you expect will ultimately rise to the top of the tournaments. But we who love them will always love them in our bleak cold hearts, if I'm not a replicant.
And also, until they fix Wraith, they're going to be good.
Wraiths are good.
This is my refrain. My refrain for this entire thing is going to be, let's talk about Wraith.
He's not wrong. I think the Wraiths are the 3rd best data sheet in this Codex, but we will see.
Okay.
Imotech.
Right. Let's move on to Imotech.
Okay.
The Stormlord, Lightning Man himself.
So Imotech, first off, is not awful.
Well, no. He gives you a free CP.
No, I'm saying beyond his CP.
Oh, like just as a stat line, like the model.
Just as like, hey, I'm Imotech, what's up?
Okay.
You're like, okay, well, he's got 3 shots for 2 damage, he's got 4 swings for 2 damage, he's a flamer or whatever.
Yeah.
He's got a 2 up, 4 up, those are good defensive stats. He's a noble, so you can put him in a Lichguard unit, get -1 to wound. And his lightning, like, you're gonna hit 4 or 5 units with it if you pop it in the middle of the table. It's big. Yeah. That's 10-ish mortal wounds that just kind of happen. The other player's like, I hate that, and you're like, meh. They happen during the command phase. That's before we score.
Can he hang out in the unit that gets hypercrypted up to be like 3 inches away from everything?
Sure.
He can get in that unit.
Why not?
I don't know.
No.
Seems real fun.
He would then have to have a Cryptek in that unit with him too, who had the advancement that made them deep spread. But
yeah, but like that is a world that can happen.
Yeah,
right?
easily.
It's a fun little. I mean, you're about to lose your guy who gives you a free CP, so that's a trade. But you could just detonate that thing and 20 units go off.
I think you want him most in the Canoptek court, despite the fact that he does not play into their strengths at all, and he's actually going to be in the place of a guy who would give you a free Cynosure. A normal Overlord would give you a free Cynosure because it's a battle tactic, but giving you a CP for round with those god tier strats is so good that I think Imotech just barges in there and it's like, "What's up, everyone? I've joined your list." And you're like, "I guess."
All right, well, welcome.
I can't argue with a CP per round. It's so good.
I think you are like 80% right. I think there's a world where you take the budget Imotech and you take the enhancement, but I certainly hear your words.
Yep.
Now, the biggest man who was in Silent King, like he's the biggest character for sure, right?
Illuminor Zaras is in essentially the way I think of him, he's a Primarch. But once again, he's someone who's bad on a points per wound level, but I will accept it because buffs multiple units, and is a monstrous piece himself.
And as a 4 up Feel No Pain. That helps on the points per wound math.
It does. Really, I should enhance the number of wounds in the algorithm of points per wound. I should count them as more if they feel no pain, but I don't, just to annoy Colin.
That's unbelievably true. Wow. I didn't think you were going to say that, and you are so right.
It's just me and the internet. We're friends.
Yeah, effective points
in
per
any case,
wound. Effective. In any case, Zeras,
PPW,
go.
PPW. EPPW does not roll off the tongue.
The first one
Illuminor
did.
Zeras. Illuminor Zeras is amazing in the Awakened Dynasty, and he is amazing in the Canoptek Court. I actually think Illuminor Zeras has helped more by being in the Awakened Dynasty, because standing up with him is just such a gut-busting moment for the enemy.
Sure. 5 wounds.
And also because a lot of the best strats in the Canoptek Court want you to be Canoptek, and he's a Cryptek. But, rerolling hits is still amazing, right? Like, he doesn't hate that.
Yeah.
And, being surrounded by his Canoptek buddies, he helps them, they help him. Well, he helps Battle Line, but they'll be led by Cryptex, so they'll be helped by the Canoptek Swarm. In any case, things are generally good for Illuminor Zeras almost wherever. You can put Illuminor Zeras in any Necron list, and you'll never be like, man, why did I put this awesome Lone-Op who takes, as much to kill as 2 tanks?
Can I just say, of all of the things about him, as someone who plays against Necrons rather than him, his gun. His gun just offends me a little bit. Like, you have a strength 9 gun for 3 damage. Why can't all my characters have that kind of weaponry just lying around while they also do their buffs? Like, I don't know. It's just...
He is really expensive, but...
how much is he?
160.
160 is not...
No, he used to be 225, and we still took him.
Yeah.
We still took Illuminor Zeras.
Yeah.
But Illuminor Zeras is incredible, and those 2 dynasties are, I think, his strongest dynasties.
Sure.
Especially in the Hypercrypt, you get split too widely to use his buff. The Obeisance Phalanx, he's buffing things you don't necessarily take. You can, you can certainly be like, I brought Battle Line things led by Overlords in the Obeisance Phalanx, but I think in general, it's going to be Awoken Legion and Canoptek Court for Illuminor Zeras.
Yeah. Okay. We have to talk about, far and away, the coolest of the Necron leaders. His stories are the best, he's the funniest, he is the character of Necrons.
I mean, Trazen the Infinite.
Talk to me.
Look.
I love him.
Look, this is our first bad model. Trazen the Infinite is not typically worth taking. He uses the slot of an Overlord or a Royal Warden and is somehow inferior to both.
It's true.
If you're going to take him, you would take him in the Hypercrypt Legion. You would have him stick your objectives, then Deep Strike on the other side and stick with it. But you wouldn't take him there. He's just not good. He is bizarrely expensive for his he doesn't do anything, and...
He's paying for the fact that people like me think he's cool.
He actually threatens the rest of your army because he might replace real characters with himself if you choose foolishly. Like, Trazen is an end zone spiking list. If you ever build a 1900 point list that you're like, this list can't lose, you take Trazen for the last 100 so the other player knows it.
Someone needs to do that. If you do that, go win a GT and then tell us about it, because that will just be
then you just
like
total
the flex.
Po-face seriousness, describe him as key to your victory.
Yeah, exactly.
The only way I could win was when Trazen sticky-ed all his objectives.
I would really love to hear about it on StatCheck.
Sticky-ed all over the objectives.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right, we've got more. There are so many. We're not even out of the named characters yet. There are so many.
Some of us have an army with some character.
Solid fun. Hold on. Keep going.
All right, Oirkan the Diviner. Oirkan is kind of a stealth great model. Oirkan the Diviner has kind of fallen out of favor. He's a little more expensive than the rest of the Cryptex.
I mean, we saw him in the last game. Sorry,
he wasn't in our last game. But,
sorry, not last game. Last rendition of Necrons. Last book. He showed up in the Lichguard bricks.
Yeah. Now he can't join Lichguard anymore. But he still does the same things he did. I think he hits on 3. He used to hit on 4s. So in the Awoken Legion, he's hitting on 2s because he's leading himself. Look, it will never not be good to just be like, all right, I have 6 attacks that hit on 2s. I'm going to reroll that one that misses. That's 63 more wounds. Like, he just wrecks an enemy unit, and he comes out of a battle line unit, so they weren't necessarily expecting that. Like, he's probably in a warrior brick. The big problem is that he is now eating up the slot of either a Plasmancer or a Chronomancer, both of which, or even a Technomancer. People don't recognize how good it is to put Technomancers in warrior brick. It's still good. But Oirkan the Diviner just wrecks people.
He also only has 2 attacks.
Tripled on his...
oh, there you go. Okay, see, there was a trick in there somewhere.
Colin is pretending not to know tricks for you, Internet, your benefit, but we're wise to him, you and I. I'll keep watching.
No. I'm just here to make sure that all of Walter's tricks are known, so that when he walks up to a table, he has no fun left to play with.
All right, well, A good trick is not to mention that his triple power thing is once per game, and then resurrect him and hope that they accidentally kill him again.
Oh gosh.
That's not real advice, but it would be funny.
Okay.
In any case, that's the end of our named characters. Oric the Diviner, I think in Awakened Dynasty, he's a really nasty surprise for someone who goes and messes with the guys. Certainly, on that Overlord unit, or the guys who are teleporting 3 inches away, having a 4-up invul save is really rough. I don't know that I've ever done it, but I think it would be a solid choice if you did it, and I don't think you would be disappointed, especially when he just wrecked a Russ. You were like, all right, he can still do that.
Yeah. All right, we move on to just the regular Joes, who are
Overlords.
Incredibly cool, actually. This model reminds me of the Death faction in Age of Sigmar, the way they do the aesthetic, and I really love they started porting that modeling skill over to Necrons. I know that's not what we're talking about models. I just have to say he's really cool looking.
I agree. He's
Go.
really cool. So Overlords, you get a free strat, so it's going to depend on the quality of the strat, and you get a Res Orb. So if you've got Overlords, you're very often incented to have a spider walking along with you. You want the one with the, what's it called, the Shroud, Translocation Shroud, if advancing is important to you, and you want the one who has the wrist rockets if you're in Evasive Legion.
Why?
Well, just wrist rockets are cool, Evasive Legions are cool, cool things to do together.
So it's just like, we recognize these things are bad, and we just want to do cool stuff anyway?
No, +1 to wound is really cool on a weapon that does d6 + 2 damage.
Sure, but do we also recognize that like the regular walking Overlords, I love the opinion that they are, for the same points as the dude who lets you auto-advance 6, just unplayable in comparison.
No, that's not fair. -1 damage can matter. I've actually seen it matter in my game with Gabriel. It mattered. And also they can
just the character, right? Not the unit,
of
right?
course.
Yeah.
But the character can also carry a Void Scythe, which is Strength 12. And like Lichguard with War Scythes regularly fail to kill vehicles. Having one guy with 3 swings with a Void Scythe can help an awful lot with that.
Okay.
I think you can totally defend the choice of an Overlord. Almost any of them, they're all very similar to one another.
I just value movement tricks so much.
I do too.
I'm in love with the new
That's
guy.
why I take Overlords.
Okay, we'll get to those for sure.
So in my mind, Overlords go in Lichguard units, and Royal Wardens go in Battle Line units. But you can of course put an Overlord into a Battle Line unit as well.
Sure.
If you do the Res Orb into Warriors, where you're re-rolling that d6, that's amazing. If you have an Awoken Dynasty set of warriors, you can have the strat for d3 +1 plus a d3 for the animator. At the end of the phase, d6 plus d3 for the animator, and the start of the next turn, d3 plus d3 for the animator. All of those dice being re-rolled. You can still do the old things. You can still be like, this unit is annoyingly tough. Nowadays,
you just traumatized so many people by being like, hey look, the thing that made you just so upset to play against Necrons in the last book, we've still got it. Like, I don't think it's quite as mind-bendingly painful as before, but it is still real. I mean, I played against it with Votan, and I put half an army into one of those bricks, and it was like, well, I left it with like 5 guys, and I'm just sitting over there like, Walter's about to grow all of these back.
Well, that army, I didn't have Res Orb, because those had Royal Wardens.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like the fear was there, even if you didn't do it.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's very rough to be like, my army no longer, it's turn 3 or whatever, and you'd be like, I can no longer break warrior bricks.
Yeah.
I've lost too many things. That objective is just theirs. They're OC 40, live forever, warrior brick.
And they just do whatever they want. All right. So we continue with even more unnamed characters. This book is like a half character.
We're a good faction.
You guys are. All right. Go ahead.
Catacomb Command Barge. Obviously, it hasn't changed much from his last incarnation. 6-inch aura of +1 OC. He has a Res Orb that he can give to nearby people. So that's one way to get it into a Battle Line unit while still having Royal Warden, which we want to do. I think only in the Awoken Legion would you take him. If so, you take the enhancement that gives him a 4+ feel no pain.
Because that just makes him durable enough to live for any amount of time, really.
Well, also, the other player often cannot kill both him and Illuminor Xeras in the same turn.
And so then you get to bring him back.
Well, just like, you can now take 2 objectives in a Grip of Stone.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't, time has run out for my ability to kill these models, and they are just holding these objectives.
Yeah.
So you kind of overload their ability to deal with incredibly tanky models. So that's cool. And also, if you've got a bunch of Scarabs, reducing their leadership and being OC1, making those guys OC2 is just cool.
Jesus, OC2 scarabs and stuff are nightmares.
It's funny. It's just funny.
I mean, you just can't kill them sometimes. There's so many other things you have to go kill.
Right. So yeah, I think CCB, if you're doing Awoken Dynasty, I think it's very defensible. I think otherwise, you're going to be able to find something better to do. You know, he's got 9 wounds and he's 150 or 60 points. That's not... I don't like those numbers.
He is just a buff machine. Like, his combat is nothing to write home.
Yes, he's... Only if you have a particular, like, this guy is driving an OC train kind of plan, do you want this guy. Mostly you don't. If you do, it's going to be in the Awoken Lich.
Okay. The next guy feels like the worst character?
No, he's not the worst.
I mean, Trazen is the worst. The worst unnamed character.
No, that would be Circummancer.
Oh, we're going to get there. Really? Okay. We'll get there. We'll get there.
So,
talk to me about the Scorpec Lord.
The Scorpec Lord is too expensive. He costs 100 points, and he feels like he should cost about 70. But he does buff Scorpecs in the way which you want, which is he causes them to do more damage. I talked before about what I have to take before I will pay for a unit of or a model that buffs multiple units. You know, I want a buff on multiple units, and I want them to be good beast himself. Someone who just buffs a unit, I want him to give 2 things to the unit. And the Scorpec Lord doesn't. He just gives them
Evil
hits. Yeah. Now he himself is a bit of a freight train, but he's not as much of a freight train as 3 more Scorpecs. You know,
which is what he costs, right? Like that's
he costs more than 3 more Scorpecs. No, he costs about 3 more Scorpecs.
Yeah.
And he swings 4 times. They're great swings, but either 4 times or 8 chump swings. And he does mortal wounds on the chart.
I mean, and the Cryptex even before Field of Pain. Like there's a long list of things that are good.
Well, the Cryptek gets before.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
But I think most people nowadays are going to find that 60 points is a lot to just add on to a warrior unit, and people who work hard can still kill warrior units, so I think you're going to leave the Cryptex at home. I do like the Crypto Thralls, thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, you will not leave the Cryptex at home. I like the idea of putting your characters and your Crypto Thralls behind, and then putting your 10 Immortals in the front. Shooting someone, when they shoot back, you let it kill the Immortals, and they will not overspill by 6 wounds, so it won't kill the Crypto Thralls, and therefore your unit will survive, and then on your turn... They
start growing back Immortals, because there aren't any Immortals left, but the unit isn't dead, so just... That's cheeky, I like that. Also, there is some Immortal somewhere who's just like, Walter, my man, the Immortal Warrior Brick? Why you gotta have the Warriors taking the Immortals' jobs like that?
I have no loyalty. If
Clearly.
If your data sheet is good, I'm there. I pull up. If your data sheet is bad, I'm out.
Okay.
I played a lot of Scorpecs.
You did.
All right.
They're all
Nobody can
gone.
say I didn't play a lot of Scorpecs.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Tomb Blades. Always here, my boys. Tomb Blades.
Are you always here? Are they a good data sheet? Because you just got done saying. They have to be good for you to show up.
Yeah. Tomb Blades are good. They're
okay,
the fastest thing in our Codex.
That's true?
Yep. They move 12 and they have Scout. Tomb Blades. It's a scouting unit. They're only 75 points. Woo! They've lost their invul save. They don't love that. But still, they're Tomb Blades. They now got shoot and scoots. They zip across the board. If you draw, if you're playing tactical and you draw behind enemy lines in the first turn, Tomb Blades will score it for you and no one else will.
Yeah.
You could do a lot worse than putting 1 Tomb Blade unit in every single army you make. Just being like, it will score tactical stuff if I'm a tactical scoring guy. If I'm not, it will move over there and charge a tank. And hold it up for a turn.
I think their best play is just doing tactical random objective stuff. Yeah. But I mean, there was a world where you played 18 or 27 Tomb Blades?
There was a world. I have 27 Tomb Blades. Lots of love for the Tomb Blades.
But, I think they serve kind of a different, more techie role now.
Yeah, nowadays they're not.
This is a supporting unit.
Now, in the index, you had still a strat to reroll wounds. You could bring the dev wound guns and try and make that the thing. Yep. But they only come in units up to 6. That's not their way anymore. They're just like, hi, we're OC6 as a team. All 3 of us. We're taking your objective.
Yeah. They remind me of gargoyles in the we move 12 and then we move 6 and we scout 9. They're wherever they want to be at all times.
Yep.
And annoyingly hard to kill with stealth. It's normally I pan stealth a little bit. It's kind of like, this is good but overhyped. I feel like in this particular unit, it's the right layer of, I don't want to put real guns into your chumps. I have stuff to do.
Right, stealth can't screen a big unit forever. It can't keep the enemy from killing what they want to kill.
Yeah.
But stealth on a unit that they're trying to fly swat can make them be like, I've used 2 fly swatters and there's still a stupid bike with a wound left.
And it's gonna start growing back if I don't kill it. It's literally like a fly. It's laid eggs, and if I don't go kill it, I'm screwed. They're just gonna start coming back. It's quite annoying.
Everyone, Colin thinks Tomb Blades lay eggs. I'm not gonna correct him. That's the thing.
It's the Tyranid player coming out of me. Again, that's how you get all the bugs. Is you just they keep doing it. So that's fine.
Tau are a species of Tyranid. Like Zodes.
I thought Tau were a species of Eldar, right? Eldar made the Tau.
Eldar are Tyranids. It all works.
It's all
put together.
It's actually just I understand now. You're a Necron who sees all living things as the same species, and you've decided that's the Tyranid.
That's
right.
What you're describing is the destroyer revelation that we have when we take on our true forms.
Yes, I understand. Okay.
My arms are guns.
Speaking of destroyers, we've gotten there. Mr. Scorpec destroyers, your arms are blades.
Yeah. Remember the triangle. Scorpecs are not tough, but are fast and hit hard. They are our hardest hitting unit. They're fast. Speed 8, infantry, fast enough.
Through walls.
With the Scorpec Lord leading them, so they're like, I reroll all our hits and I have lethal, and you just blap. What isn't lethal is going to be Dev. You know, the guy is doing his Wrecking Ball impression. Like, Scorpec, they are incredibly fragile. If people attack Scorpecs, they evaporate. But, you know, they kill the thing they charge, which is what you brought them for. They're a 300-point unit with that character.
Wait. Whoa, really?
Yeah, if you bring 6 Scorpecs, it's 200, and he is a bewildering 100 points.
Oh.
So you throw this
You never take him. You never take him ever. Gosh, okay.
You throw it into an enemy unit and it dies, and the other player's like, man, my 150-point unit is dead.
Yep.
Thank goodness you wasted your points, and they evaporate you, and you're like, I hate that.
But in the same vein, the destroyers who are like, look, we see you can float and shoot, and we see that you can run and punch, but I'd like to slither and punch.
Have you considered burrowing?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we have an opening for someone who wants to turn into a snake? Ophidians.
Back to the whole myth thing.
Stephen Mitchell, probably, I think, our best guy in the basement here.
For sure.
Once said, there are 5 units in your codex that do your thing, and you're not in the top 4 of Ophidians. And I was just
Ophidians.
Oh, that's cold. Ophidians can't have a character to add to them. Sorry. So they have more attacks, which means they could potentially be worse, better dev wounds. I don't know of a way offhand to get them to reroll wounds, so it's not a plan you can have. They're essentially your assassin, right? They're popping up into space every round in case you need it for a tactical thing. You can spend 100 points on them for that. I've never done it. It's so hard to make yourself do.
I mean, they're competing essentially with Tomb Blades in that slot for we're going to go do cool tactical things.
Tomb Blades are cheaper.
Yeah, they're also competing with Scarabs. There's a lot of competition in that space for a guy who is paying to have 5 attacks at string 4.
Yeah, and
right?
10 more points gives you Wraiths.
Yeah. Well, again, we're just presuming there's 18 Wraiths. We're talking about all the units you take after Wraiths.
I don't make that presumption. But I'm saying
I know.
An Ophidian is a direct competitor with a Wraith. They move the same speed, and the Wraith is grotesquely better in every imaginable way.
Yep.
The Ophidian hits slightly harder, and the Wraith is 100 times tougher.
How are they on cost? Are they roughly the same?
Wraiths are more expensive, especially when you add in characters.
Yeah.
The Ophidians, I think, are 200 altogether, and the Wraiths are 280 with all their stuff. But the Wraiths have an extra wound each, and blah, blah,
blah, blah, blah. All the reasons that the Wraith are better. Okay, so the OG Destroyers, the originals, we love them. We talked about these guys earlier in the context of some of their characters, where we liked them as what we would call an independent unit, right? They don't need any support. They don't need the buffs. They don't need attention. They wander into an edge, and they're like, oh, 5 Marines standing on an objective. That's a thing we can do.
Everybody else is like, man, is it 200 or is it 300? And a unit of Locusts are like, how about 180?
Yeah.
And they're like, you can take a lot of Necron units also will take just 1 or 2 Locust Destroyers as just scorers. They're 30-point dudes that tool around and score stuff.
Yeah, they have
very commonly it's the play.
They have one of unique disposition. I think one of the few units that can still do this in this edition. That is, you can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? You get to choose. So it's not bricks of 3 or 6 or whatever. Which means
because they come in packs of 1. Or at least they used to.
Yeah. So a 30-point Locust Destroyer gets to just be like, well, I'm 30 points. I do actions. I have OC until you deal with me. We talked earlier about trying to kill a unit with fly swatter. The number of flies Necrons can bring over and above their combat disposition is kind of crazy. There's a lot.
It's very common to be like, there are 5 real Necron units on this table. There's 2 warrior bricks and 2 Wraith Bricks and a Lich Guard Brick, and then there are like 6 flies, and I have to,
at least, right? Like, it's how tall is a destroyer? Like, it's a small model, easy to hide.
I mean, when you have 6, they're like 6 and a Lord is a very.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the single model.
The single ones. So Locust Destroyer is one of our most popular data sheets. You take them for work if you have a 6-man unit led by a Lord, or you take them in a 3-man unit just to score. Both perfectly fine. Both can be essentially formation agnostic.
Yep.
Just filling out points. Locust will rarely hurt you.
Yep. Okay, the Heavy Destroyer.
Locust Heavies.
They're cool models. They're new. I kind of want them to update the old models to look like the new ones.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
I think the 1 damage ones are kind of outshone by warriors, and like
Necrons have
a lot of ways to kill infantry.
Exactly.
Comes from our Terminator best, but the ones that are just like I shoot tanks for 6 damage.
Hey, railguns are cool.
Yeah, big guns are cool. They have lethal, and they reroll wounds on tanks and vehicles, which is mostly ones to wound on tanks and vehicles, which is mostly what they're shooting at.
Yep.
So, kind of without support, they're very just like we're here to pop tanks. And if you're in a hypercrypt, they're going to have lines. They're going to have angles.
Would you take them in not a hypercrypt?
I don't typically, because that's, units that are not... I very much prefer an army where everybody's going up and getting on objectives. These guys, I feel, is more of a play style where you're trying to remove the enemy and, surgically occupy objectives. I'm very blitzy. But I think in a hypercrypt, they're very strong. And I think even if, not in a hypercrypt, like, I think you can join a Locust Lord to them. I think 3 of those guys led by a Locust Lord being like, hi, we lethal on 5s is pretty rough, and maybe we hit on 1 or hit on 2s because we're in Awakened Dynasty. It's all very, very interesting.
You can in fact add the Locust Lord to Locust Heavy Destroyers.
I just said maybe to make him look it up. I knew it. But
you're so sweet. Such a nice guy.
Yeah,
we love Walter.
Sweet. Also, earlier I was throwing up W's for warriors. Colin prefers to throw up L's for locusts. Which is why you'll always see Colin putting up L's.
There you go. You brought it back. That was good.
2 in his name.
I do. I have a W in my last name, though, right? Like, they balance out.
Yeah, that's how it works. 2 and 1, same numbers.
Many times. Okay, let's move on. I think this is our most disagreed unit. We just disagree on this guy.
I love a Reanimator. Colin doesn't.
So, we're back again.
Internet. We ran out in the Canoptic Reanimator. We don't know how much you heard, so we're going to start again.
Yep.
We have a big disagreement about this. I'm right, he's wrong.
Let's talk about it.
Sure.
So, like I said, I think the meta will determine this. I will freely admit that I could be wrong here, but my instinct on reading the Reanimator's datasheet is it will be too slow to keep up with your army with the units that it wants to help. I'm thinking about if you're in Hypercrypt and you're moving around like crazy because that's what it does, or if you're in the Canoptic Court and you're just Wraith pressing, like... He's move 8 and a vehicle that has to go around walls, and everything else that I just described it doesn't. And I feel like you aren't going to want to like trail guys back to get into his aura because it's so small now. I don't know. I maybe people can play it. Maybe it's just a skill thing. But in my mind, the Reanimator's really going to struggle to do his job.
I mean, I don't think it's a skill thing. I think what you see is what you get. He's got 6 shots with his little chump guns and does no appreciable damage in combat.
Yep.
But I think if you're an army that has orbs, resurrection orbs, which you will if you're taking overlords, or if you have strats that do healing, which the Canoptic, the Awoken Dynasty, and the Annihilation Legion, they all double up when you have the Reanimator. The Reanimator also, he's 75 points and he's 6 wounds with a 4-up feel no pain. The point per wound on that is pretty good. If we are using your effective points per wound.
So what happened, just real quick, in the last game we played with your Reanimator? Do you remember what happened there?
Yeah, you blew him up.
Yeah, it was like one Sagitar was like, oh hi, we're out of here.
The game we played before that, he quit on 2 because I was beating him too hard.
That is true. Walter had me like fully.
2 Reanimators.
I wasn't tabled, but I was like, I was
shaking
done.
him in his face, and he was like, "No, stop reanimating!" And I was like, "I'll never stop reanimating." What if they kiss?
Oh gosh. With that face, with the like crazy giraffe neck he's got.
So cool.
Okay.
Reanimators are one of the few units that can be behind a wall, like deploying a teleport homer and still buffing your unit on the objective. They're a Canoptic model, so in the Canoptic Court, they do all the cool things that Canoptic models do.
They reroll a hit with their
I was
like
thinking
3 shots.
people go to shoot them and you're like, it's a lone op.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to put the 6 wraiths out there to potentially get killed if they come up within 12 inches. You're just like, it's a little chump. And
I do respect that. That's
killing a model that has a 4-up feel no pain is also incredibly unpredictable. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it really, really isn't.
I appreciate that you didn't say it's incredibly hard. You said it's incredibly unpredictable. I think that's a thing that like is lost in some 40K discussions where we don't get very specific. Is that talking about something like difficult or like hard? It's like reliability is, I think, probably the thing that is up there. Like we value it so much. It's like I can guarantee this will happen. I can make it part of my plan, and I can count on it. And to your credit, you cannot do that here. There's no amount of like, well, sometimes you just made 4-ups, and
yeah, you're like, well, I did death wounds. I'm like, well, he still gets to make them. Like, well, I did mortal wounds. He still gets to make them. He always gets to make his feel no pains.
Yep.
Sometimes he just lives, and if he has 1 wound left in the start of the turn, he'll heal 2d3, and he very well be nothing. So I like them. I think if you have a few units running around doing actions, having them be at least one of them be a Canoptic Reanimator, that's good. You know, if the Silent King is driving down the center with a Scorpack with a Canoptic Spider hanging out behind him, I think the Reanimator can also be there. You know, he's just wherever you've got high quality wounds, you like this guy. And of course, Warriors rerolling this dice helps more.
Yeah, I actually hadn't considered until you said it that you can loan up. I actually like that. Way more important for that.
I mean, you want Canoptic models in the court. Like,
you do.
Take a non-Canoptic or non-Cryptic model in the court, you're like,
a little weird.
That sucks. You know, I don't want that.
Yeah. Except for the Royal Warden, you want it.
Well, the Royal Warden is in a Cryptic unit. Sure. He's not in a Canoptic unit, so like he and his Immortals or Warrior Brethren are not able to do those things, but they're still Cryptex. They still reroll.
Sure. Okay. Now to like we deeply agree.
Yeah,
we are both on the boat of this unit is crazy good.
The Canoptic Scarab is my pick for the best data sheet in the book at this time.
And that is such a bold statement.
I was running max 3 units before the new book came out, and while the bombing may have gotten worse, the unit got better.
Yeah.
They're moved 10 inches, and they are OC1 as long as one of your many Cryptex is near them. They're Canoptic, so if you're in that Canoptic thing, it helps. What they want to do is reroll hits because they're hitting on 5s and 6s are lethal. It gives them that.
Reroll hits with 36 attacks and lethal is a real number of wounds to anything.
Everything about Canoptic Scarabs is like, when I start a Necron list, I start with 3 units of Canoptic Scarabs, and I may very well start with 3 max units.
I thought you were going to say 4. I may well start with 4.
Just cheap.
No, play Onslaught, it's fine.
But like, 3 units of Canoptic Scarabs and Illuminor Xerath is like, a very, very real
place to start.
You'll never regret having these models in your army. You know, when it's a game of you're like, I put something on an objective, and then you put out just enough force to kill that thing, and then I put out,
Yeah, we do the trade piece. Yeah.
And you're like, my opening bid is a swarm of Canoptic Scarabs and Illuminor Xerath. The other player's like, I have to use my whole real army to take these, 80 points away and kill that guy for the first time. Like, it's wild.
Now, I will say there's an alternative to what you just said in the peace trading world that I am very excited for. It is a style that you champion at Kansas City. I loved your Kansas City army. That team was
amazing.
It was so good. Which is you have the Wraith. I've been talking about the Wraith. We're gonna get there in a minute. But behind the Wraith are 18 Scarabs. Right? It's just a blanket of Scarabs, and they all have OC because
the Technomancers among the Wraiths.
Yeah. So you're just the world in which you have climbed out of the Wraith hole and then arrive at Scarabs, where it's like, wait, no, hold on. I was supposed to be done with all the hard-hitting units. I'm supposed to get to the things that are murdering me now. There are too many of these dudes here. Like, that's a very real thing that a lot of people in this matchup would experience, right? It's like it's a hard stat lose on some armies, and when you first pointed out, like, hey man, what about the Scarabs? It was like, you are so right. You're so right.
I think the Scarabs, and I love me a Royal Warden internet. You and me, we're tight, and I have Royal Warden pictures on my wall. But with Scarabs, there's not even a question. You begin with 3 units of Scarabs.
You have a Scarab blanket in your bed. It's just it's got Scarabs on it.
It's got something on it.
Oh gosh. All right. Moving on quickly from that, the Canoptic Spider.
Okay, I've always championed Canoptic Spiders, and having now used him in my early games, I think this guy has fallen out of my thing, unless you have a plan for him. Unless you are playing, for example, An Obeisance Legion with a Silent King with -1 damage. I no longer rate the Canoptic Spider. He's so slow. Move 5 where everyone else is 8. He costs as much as a Reanimator and does very little by comparison. Like, you want him with the spiders. He's a Canoptic model, so, you know, you could use him in the Royal Court, but you've probably already, if you're doing 75-point scoring dudes, you've got 3 Reanimators. I just don't think the spiders it.
The spiders are, I agree. I don't really have much to add there. I think the spiders are a really cool aesthetic that got a little bit abandoned in Necrons that I wish they leaned harder into, of the, like, awakened tomb and, you know, the guardian of it.
I mean, we all think that the droid from the Star Wars with the ice planet was cool.
Yeah.
These things kind of look like that.
A little bit, yeah. Hoth? Is that the ice planet you were referencing?
Yes.
Okay. Just so we get the nerd credit on knowing our Star Wars references. Okay, so the actual best unit in the book.
I had them at 3rd.
He did, I know.
And in my heart, I kind of want Warriors, but look, I can't deny the obvious truth that Wraiths can be forced down people's throat, and there are entire armies that will simply choke on 3 units of Wraiths. Yeah. Like, I have now seen, I've only played the Canoptic Court twice, but both times I've seen the other players be like, it takes me a whole round to kill 1 unit of Wraiths. Yeah. Like, my 2,000 points, try and kill a unit of Wraiths, and succeeds. And that was the only thing I did this round, and the Scarabs and the other Wraiths just move out and touch everything.
And it's interesting because I was one of those opponents. I was playing Votan, and Walter has been rotating through a bunch of different detachments, a bunch of different units, just like trying things out, right? Like, it's one thing to read the book, to have opinions. It's another, like, we're going to put them on the table, we're going to feel them, let's iterate, let's get some, like, real opinions. And so, you've had a unit of Wraiths, and I go to shoot that unit of Wraiths, it's marked up with Votan, I got +1 to hit and wound, and it really was my whole army. And while I was shooting at it, in my head, I'm just going, this is one of the units.
Yeah.
There could be 3, and also, I'm getting to shoot with my whole army because the other 2 aren't smothering me in combat, right? I'm just, like, thinking through in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to kill this one, and I might win this game, but, like, this isn't the real test. The real test is much harder.
3 units of Wraith and 3 units of Scarab splits you. And, like, if the Necron player goes first, and you're in a Canoptic Course, so one of those units is infiltrating, you know, there are entire armies who will never, by turn 5, see the midfield objective.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Wraiths don't even kill time, right? Wraiths are not damaging deadly creatures, you know. They hit on 4s and they just live that life.
Yeah.
But their durability and their mobility are both incredible.
And they're OC2 now. Yep. Huge buff for them is the ability to take 6 Wraiths, get on your opponent's home objective, and be like, I have 12 OC here. That random unit of 5 Marines you left here is not actually enough, right? This is mine, which means my power matrix is in your deployment zone too now. Like, let's go.
I mean, that feels a bit like a pipe dream, but I think if you're just like...
You're going to do it.
I go first, and the infiltrating unit is charging you, and everyone else takes the midfield, and the other player's like, bottom 1, we kill the infiltrating unit. And you're like, all right, top 2, the other 5 units are charged. And they're like, bottom 2, we scramble around and use our good stuff from our Codex, and we kill another one of those units. There's no repairing that game. It's already over, and I haven't talked about 800 points of the Necron army. You know,
at least. Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah, so...
Illuminor Xeraz is smoking on the home objective.
think about a world where there's a rule that just says you may not leave your deployment zone until turn 3. Your opponent doesn't have that rule. Like, what are you going to do to win that game? Because you're down 20 or 30 to 0 on primary, and you have 3 turns to dig out of that hole. There are some missions, like, what's the mission where you score 25 at the end if you score 10 and then 15?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are missions where you can do it, but in a lot of them, you're like, wow, this is a huge problem.
Yeah, so it'll be a hard stat check army. It's not my particular cup of tea, but I'd be remiss in talking about the Codex if I didn't just say, what if you take the best things and spam them, and other players just get...
Yep.
What's the problem? Can't handle it.
Yep. Alright, we've talked about the Wraiths, I've talked about them through all the things, we're going to move on. The Triarch Stalker, I actually don't know how he's changed in this book.
He got Scout.
That's cool. Does he keep the strip cover ability?
Yep.
He did? Okay,
Still does the same things he used to do.
Alright.
He's got a 6-shot, 2 damage gun now. So remember earlier we were talking about the 5 multi-damage units that are themselves multi-wound? The Triarch Stalker is sort of a stealth member of that club. Like, he's 125 points. If you get 3 Wraiths for 120 points, you also have 12 wounds. 3 Wraiths and a Triarch Stalker are extremely similar to one another. The Triarch Stalker's like, I also have 12 wounds, 3 up armor, and a 4 up invul save, and I'm tough 8. And the Wraiths are like, us too.
He just goes, man, can I have another Technomancer? Can I have Feel No Pain? He's just like wandering around looking for the Feel No Pain.
He would like it, but he also, he's less than half their points.
Right? No, for sure. Yeah.
He's 125. It's like
that math does work.
If you're just like spitting 3 units of Wraiths and you're like, I'd like 3 more half units of Wraiths that are faster so they get there on turn 1. Taking 3 Charge Stalkers is not the worst thing that's ever happened.
Faster because of the Scout. Okay, I was like, what do you mean?
Scout 8, Walk 8.
Hello.
Also, he strips cover, which is a cool thing in an army that has some trouble with that. If you're, he is the Triarch rule, so if you're in Obeisance Phalanx, he does, he actually has a really cool thing where he will be the guy you use the -1 damage strat on the first round, and then the king will come out in the second round. But just, any scout tank that fights is interesting. Like the Space Marines have the 1 Scout Dread that fights.
Yeah. I like his profile on his combat stats. 3 damage is an interesting thing to just have wandering around in a guy who isn't a combat guy. Yeah, no, occasionally you just need him to punch stuff.
Yeah, I was using him before he got Scout, right? Yeah. Like I repeatedly would take 3 of these units, just be like, what I like about him is he's 12 wounds with a 3-up armor and a 4-up invul save and tough 8. Yeah. And he's OC4. All Necron stuff is a little more OC than you expect. So this light tank is just chilling out OC4. And everybody having a 4-up invul is also a great situation. So
I will say, looking at the rest of the page,
don't sleep on 3 Triarchs as part of that blitz we're talking about.
Sure. I will say, looking at this rest of this page, we're going to find a lot of units. So like, I have 3-up armor, 4-up invul, and then I'm T8 or 9.
So there is a Necron mech build, right? Where you're like, I ignore everything in the Codex.
I brought data sheets that are unreasonably durable for their points, and they're not Wraith. It's weird.
Call us Hypercrypt, and we're better tanks than most people's tanks because we have a 4-up invul and they don't.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of trouble on these extremely cluttered boards. It doesn't work quite as well, but if you're like, I brought the Silent King and 12 tanks, people are like, I hate that. And you're like, sorry. We thought you thought we were cool when we were hitting on 4s, but now we're hitting on 3s because we're heavy, and the Silent King is nearby. We're hitting rerolling 1s that hit wounds.
Speaking of, the Doomstalker was a good representative in that army.
Yep.
Last I saw.
Doomstalker actually, in some ways, has had a boost because he's Canoptic. So in the army that you might take him in, the Crypta Court, he's rerolling hits because he just lives in your home side, so he doesn't, ever outrun your power.
Or the midfield most of the time.
Yeah, right? He's OC4. He's a big old tank. And a really important thing is his special rule is he hits on 5 on Overwatch. The Cryptex Court's formation giving him reroll hits.
Rerolling 5s is actually just better than 4s. Like, that's just a good thing to know. Yeah. Rerolling 5s is a great place to be for Overwatch.
Yeah, he's like, I just Overwatch every turn. And I'm just, obviously they have incredible stats. But he's also a tank that can be a lone op or move 6, because he's Canoptic.
You say Overwatch every turn, and in my brain I'm going like, man, I want that to be true, but the strats are so good in that faction, you never actually do it.
But as someone who played like that mech list, I have Overwatch with these things into units of Terminators, and they hate it.
Yep.
You'd be like, D6 +1. Oh, there's a bunch of you guys. That's +3.
Yep.
8 shots. Woo, the Silent King's around, so I'm really ones to hit and wound. And they're like, I've lost 4 Terminators in my own move phase.
Yeah,
I hate this. It's a great thing. And they're just tough, right? He's a 3-up armor, 4-up invul, 12 wounds. Like all Necron tanks, tough as nails.
Yeah. Okay, the Annihilation Barge. I feel like it's had a little bit of a fall from grace. Like, I feel like it used to show up in competitive lists a lot more than it does.
I think things have gotten better and it kind of stayed the same.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's move 10, which he previously wasn't.
Yep.
His points per wound is not awful. He's, I think, 115 points for 9 wounds, which is a lot like a Doomstalker or a Triarch Stalker. But it's hard not to think, if I paid 10 more points, this could be a Triarch Stalker, and it has Scout, He still does the same things he always does.
And
he'll I know. Like, he'll throw wounds downstage, but he's outshined by the other tanks. I really like that his guns are twin-linked. And very often being OC0 doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are like, well, I wasn't going to let you have,
Yeah.
I'm OC3 behind a wall, unless you were 2, I don't care. And just being like, I have more wounds because I'm twin-linked. And he's one of the very few ways to do mortal wounds to someone who you cannot interact with because they're behind a wall. Like, well, you're still within this range of this guy.
Yeah. The exploding mortal wounds effect is there used to be armies that lived and died. I remember when I was playing Custodes, dodging that from the psychic powers at the time was a huge deal, but it's just kind of fallen out of fashion.
If you're just doing a tank army, he's some tanks you can have, but I think mostly you wouldn't do it.
Okay, the Doomsday Arc.
Inexplicably, the gun got better, which is funny.
They made it higher strength, right?
Yeah, it's strength 18 now. I think a Doomsday Arc is too expensive. Its points per wound is quite wretched. And the Canoptic Doomstalker is almost the same thing for a much more reasonable cost. It does 1 less damage, it hits 1 less well, etc. But a Doomsday Arc is if you pay for it, if you're the Mercedes kind of guy, is a heck of a tank. 3 Doomsday Arcs with the Silent King standing in the middle will blow up anything in the universe.
I mean, 4 damage and D6 plus 1 blast is like,
strength nonsense, rerolling 1s to hidden wounds, AP nonsense. You're just like, okay, I guess.
Just hit wounds my Votan tanks on tubes.
You'll find pieces of them tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's too much tank. It's like a 200-point tank, and it's 14 wounds, and you're just like, I could have 2 Stalkers or 2 Canoptic Doomstalkers.
I would actually say, look for the Doomsday Arc in a year after we've gone through 2 points revisions and no one's been playing them. Maybe they've gone down 10 or 15 points every points update, and then suddenly they're going to hit a tipping point where it's like, wait, this thing's actually very points effective again.
Yeah, it's a very good data sheet. It's just quite expensive.
Yeah. All right. Relatedly, the Ghost Arc, the alternate build.
Ghost Arcs are frustrating because Ghost Arc is the transport for a warrior unit that doesn't exist, which is to say a 10-man warrior unit.
Yeah.
And you're like, so it's a warrior unit with just 1 character and not 2 characers? Confused, right?
It's the ones that fit in the model, right? That's
And because it is a dedicated transport, you have to bring a character to ride in at the beginning.
So it doesn't blow up,
If you want to use it to defend your 20-man warrior units, with its special rule, it still can happen. You can still do the old ways, but you probably are now driving around with beginning the game with that little pistol destroyer. He's the only infantry model that doesn't join a unit.
Sure.
So
it's down that road lies madness. We move on.
Now, its points per wound is great.
Yeah.
It's a fine, if you get one on the board, it's a fine tank, and buffing your warrior's resurrection is a thing that will drive your opponent to distraction if they're protected by -1s to hit and feel no pain and all this stuff. That old thing, that old music can still be played, but you're really reaching for it. Really reaching for it with the Ghost Arc.
Alright. The Doom Scythe. I live in a world where all planes are bad. I've been told that planes aren't as bad as I think they are, but OC0 models that don't get to move on turn 1 feels bad to me.
Well, this guy doesn't even show up on turn 1.
Oh, does he not have the rule that everyone else does? He gets to... Yeah, he doesn't. Okay, yeah. No,
This guy shows up on turn 2 and moves on turn
halfway through the game? Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't rate flyers.
He's also unbelievably expensive. He's 230 points. And he's
wow,
12
okay.
wounds.
Do we actually want to talk about this, or just want to move on?
Doomsides are bad. His special rule, this cool thing he does, the atavistic instigation, it's infantry that are affected by it. Which is not what you want to shoot him at.
The Doomsday? No.
He wants to shoot at vehicles to do incredible amounts of damage with his death rays, but his special rule is versus infantry. He's just not a good, well thought through model. If you wanted to take him, putting him in a Hyper Crypt Legion where you could give him a 4-up invul save would help him a lot, but you don't want to take him.
Yeah.
He's too expensive. He could be half his point cost and we could talk. If this guy was 140, 135.
Maybe?
I still don't think I would take him. Because he's a tank that doesn't show up till the second turn is OC0, but then we could have the discussion.
How many points would he have to be an auto take for you? 90?
There exists a point cost at which anything is a take, and you're just it would be a silly
but it's a
number.
low number. Yeah. It's a crazy number. I talked about night sides earlier in the. Can we make a hypercrypt work with the night sides? And the answer is kind of we could, but why would we?
It does show up on the first turn.
Yep.
And it wants a 4-up invul save, which the Hypergrip can give it.
Oh.
It has the deep strike rule, so it pops on and off, and it's always in the right position to shoot its guns.
Which are not terribly impressive.
But they're fine.
Yeah.
They're worse than the guns of the cheaper Annihilation Barge, but it's also got a unit of Scorpec destroyers with a Lord in there.
Yeah.
It's a gimmick list where you're like, nobody's here, and then on the first turn, the night sides are here in front of you. Whichever one you target is going to have a 4-up invul save, and then out come the guys who are charging you, and it's just like, you're trying too hard. Flying transports typically are bad. This is a flying transport.
Man, the Cylon plan was cool and good. It is cool, but
it is cool.
We haven't seen the 6 Necron flyer list for a very long time.
Well, that's because it would be dreadfully bad.
Yeah, I know. All right, so I don't know if you want to tell this story, but I will at least mention that you had a hell of a run with some obelisks.
I mean, I love me obelisks and monoliths. I once took an army of 6 obelisks and monoliths. It was great. Night players would outnumber me. It was just loads of fun. The obelisk is inexplicably bad, and it makes me angry.
It's very bad.
I don't want to go to that place, but it is a model that costs an incredible number of points and doesn't do anything. Its only job is to shoot, and it does not shoot hard enough to destroy an enemy tank or unit, and it is twice the cost of one, right? For 350 points, or 325, however many points it is, I would expect to do, enough damage to pop a 200-point vehicle, and it doesn't. It doesn't even come close.
Nowhere close.
The guns should do 2 damage. They currently do 1 damage.
They used to have a rule that did that if they didn't move, right?
The role of a tackler, yes, they did.
Yeah.
The role of a tackler, someone who slows down an enemy unit, needs to be done by an inexpensive unit because you are sacrificing something not to degrade the enemy's capabilities permanently, but just to halt them for a moment, right?
Yeah.
The NIDs have little bugs who pop out and they shoot, and now you can't move.
Yeah.
And then the bugs die, but it's fine because the big thing is we have a 300-point Lord of War that does that. And it's like, what is even going on?
Yeah. Interdiction is done by fast, cheap things that are expendable that you get to do repeatedly.
Yeah,
Not bad. Tesseract Vault.
It's worse.
Is it actually worse?
Yes.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
The Tesseract Vault is another member of the I'm a tank who costs as many points as 2 tanks but doesn't shoot as hard as 1 tank.
Man, it really is that bad.
And all it does is shoot, and it doesn't shoot well. It's it's more points than Silent King. It's
yeah.
Don't
worse guns.
Don't know what world it lives in where this is any good.
A world where when they wrote the data sheets, they were thinking about a different style of game. It doesn't matter.
It's not a good model because it doesn't do enough damage. It needs to shoot much harder or be much cheaper. In the past, we've seen our super heavy saved by persistent point increases. So keep an eye on the monolith and the obelisk and the Tesseract Vault because point decreases can always happen, and there's always a points level at which you just want to take them and essentially be like, how much anti-tank did you bring?
Yeah, I mean, if you have 150 wounds of T12, right? That's just who brought the guns for that, right?
But that's what it looks like, and it's not because the data sheets are good. It's because they sometimes with the points adjustments will become cheap enough. Currently, Tesseract Vaults and Obelisks are, to my immense annoyance, because I love both of them, not seriously considerable.
Okay, I have no idea what the Convergence of Dominion does in the new version. We come back here at the very end.
All right, here we go.
Last data sheet.
Yes, I think we lost you guys on the monolith. If beforehand we lost you on the convergence, to reiterate, the convergence is not a model we want to take at this time.
Yeah.
Infiltrate would have helped it a lot.
So, the monolith. I told a story about being a kid and loving monoliths. I'm not going to tell again. Hopefully it made it on camera. If not, too bad.
It was not. If you missed it, you missed nothing important. Colin used to be a kid. He used to like monoliths. He used to be cool. That's what happens when you grow old.
That's true. That's
monoliths. Fair. I still love monoliths. 3-way Doom. The monolith itself shoots something. You shoot out some warriors. They shoot something, and then you charge something. So a monolith on the round it lands really feels like it's doing the work of a Lord of War.
Yeah. It really wants to be in Hypercrypt, I feel like. Right? It synergizes. I mean, the Hypercrypt was built to be a formation, right?
3 of its four strats, I think, are all about the monolith. At the same time, it needs to be pointed out that if you take it in the Obeisance Phalanx, it has -1 damage.
Which is such a real thing.
Boy, do monoliths want -1 damage.
Yeah.
Now, you would also be, using it to move a unit of warriors that are led by an overlord and be like, I don't need a Royal Warden because the monolith will be warping me through it. A lot of stuff comes together. It's a very different style of Obeisance Phalanx from the usual one, but I think it's real. But in general, I think a Hypercrypt monolith is just the obvious, immediate, that's what we try for Hypercrypt Legion.
Yeah. I want there to be a world where the old era of 4th edition triple monolith is a thing, where you just drop 3 of them and 3 units walk out, and it's just unholy hell has erupted from nothing. But
I think
that's
a Hypercrypt,
a bygone idea.
A Hypercrypt is as close as you can get. 2 warrior phalanxes are suddenly in amongst your army, move blocking everything, and monoliths are charging. It's a very sudden, very dangerous moment. Very cool. But
it is also, how many points?
Monoliths are 350, and let's be clear, for that incredibly dangerous, incredibly expensive point cost, a monolith is built to be durable, and in the current meta, it is not durable.
Yeah. 22 wounds. Toughness 13 is a real toughness, but no invuln and 22 wounds, you're killing a big knight. How many people can kill a big knight? Most of them, right? And at 350, it's pointed like it.
And the Hypercrypt's defensive thing of 4-up invul is not, it's not it. Like, people who are killing it through saves. They're just doing enough damage to get you through your saves. Because with cover and a 2-up save, you will be almost certainly taking saves. Yep. And you're just like, okay, you're AP 3, but I'm covering a 2-up, so I'm a 4-up. But don't worry, I have a strat that can give me a 4-up. Monoliths are not tough enough. They could stand to be a lot less points. But
it is what it is.
Maybe some point cost adjustments, or maybe I'm just too pessimistic. I have not yet tried the Hypercrypt as much as I ought to. Time will tell.
And so that gets us the book. We've done it.
Love it.
But being that we are in the basement and we are a very team-oriented kind of people around here, we like team events. We're very big on team events. I don't know how many team events you and I are going to together this year, but at least one, probably many. Atlanta is very excited to kind of see that come into its own.
There's a whole Batman Robin energy here. I gotta have my sidekicks. But Codex Necron, how does that contribute to a team event? If you have a stable of armies, what do you expect the Necrons to do? Mm-hmm. I don't think the Necrons are the wrecking ball. I don't think we are the army that you are trying to make the opponent unable to defeat. I think you can skew really hard with them. You can be like, can you handle my Canoptek Blitz? But I think there are some armies that are kind of like, yeah. And so
but do you pair the Necrons into those?
Right, that's what the thing is. You're trying to use it to manipulate the enemy's pairing.
Correct.
If they only have 3 armies out of 8 or 1 out of 5 that can handle your Necron list, they can't lead with those armies for fear your Necron will hit some vulnerable thing and bury them in an avalanche of scarabs.
Yeah.
So we never even talked about the fact that scarabs explode vehicles. They still do that. Not as hard as they used to, but they
still do it.
It's funny. But Necrons, I think, are a very skewy army if you want to build them that way.
Yeah. Well, I think they naturally lend themselves to a lot of spam and a lot of skew.
Yep.
You don't have to do it, but you could go more wrong than doing it, right? If you pick your favorite 5 data sheets in the book, bring them in triplicate and call it a day, you are operating within 80% of where you could be.
I think if you're just like, hi, I am for the team, and I brought 3 units of Wraith with 3 Technomancers and 3 max units of Scarabs, and Illuminor Zeros, and 2 units of Battle Line Dudes with some Cryptex, and then 3 Canoptek Reanimators. That feels like about 2,000, maybe a little longer.
Tossing some Tomb Blades for good measure.
That list will do fine.
Yeah.
If you don't win, you will get 4 rounds of deploying a Teleport Homer and 3 rounds of cleansing, and you'll hold primary till the 4th and 5th.
Yeah, I mean, that army minimums at 60 points-ish, which we would think about as like a defender list or a blocker list in many team format discussions, right? Where if you're going to lose, you're not going to lose big. You're probably not going to win big, but you could. It kind of depends on who you're playing against. And really, we're looking to just kind of blunt some incredibly horrific thing on the other team that we want to be like, all right, well, you not deal with that, right?
And you can also, that's not the only thing, Necrons can also be like, I bring a crazy offensive Hypercrypt list.
Yes.
I table people.
Yes.
And the other player's like, okay. And you're like, you just need to pair me into someone who is kind of not ready for this nonsense.
And I will get the 20 out of him, right? And I think it'll actually be really interesting in a team meta over the next year. What will Necron players choose to lean into? I think the book provides the capability to go in several directions. And I would expect the kind of top tier teams to bend their Necrons to fit whatever the rest of the team needs, right? There's a lot of flexibility there. That's certainly what we're going to do to Walter, right? We're going to figure out what the team needs, and then we're going to just yell at Walter until he does it, and it's going to be great.
The team name is Walter and Friends, so that's all who would be bending
But we are on a channel called Pro Tabletop. I don't know.
Walter and Friends.
Okay.
But The Necron Codex, you should expect to see Canoptic Courts coming at you all over the place.
All over the place.
You should expect to see the occasional Hypercrypt Legion. And I think there will be some people who are still going to play Awoken Legion. It is a strong data sheet. And I think many of us have pet obeisance phalanxes that people will be looking away from the team list, and it'll just show up and they're like, damn it, Walter, get that obeisance phalanx out of me. Like, too late. It's got to play the Silent King.
Nope.
But I don't think you will see any Annihilation Legions. So I think lots and lots of Canoptic Court, Hypercrypts and Awoken right behind, the occasional pet obeisance phalanx list, which may be surprisingly strong. Like, my Silent King with -1 damage breaks the back of a lot of lists.
Sure.
And then just a complete absence of Annihilation Legions.
I do think, from a practice prep perspective in the teams, you should definitely know the Wraith army backwards and forwards. You should know what armies can handle it, what armies can't. That's just a matter of rolling the dice out, right? That is all stat checks are. Let's apply some math. That's not hard to do. I think the Hypercrypt game is actually probably a harder game. That's a game you play on the table. It's all about movement. It's all about positioning. It's hard to think it through beforehand. Get practice into that. If you get paired into it, you're like,
Grey Knights into Hypercrypt, and you have a stroke. You're both like, but the turn after, who will have gone up and who will have gone down?
Yeah. They get a game into Hypercrypt. Know how it operates, how it feels. Because if you run into it in, especially a team format, you get paired into it and you don't know what it does, it will be shocking that your pairing matrix will have said, I can handle Necrons like 10/10s, I know how to work the Wraith. And then your captain pairs you into Hypercrypt not knowing the difference, and it's suddenly like, hey guys, I'm about to get a 0. I hope the rest of you can do it. And that's going to be a problem because you're going to have missed it at the pairing stage. So
I will definitely say all team players know this, and singles tournament too.
Yeah.
When you meet the guy who's playing something that is wrong, one of two things is going on. One, this guy is just not here to win the tournament and is here because he likes the Raven Guard or whoever, you know?
Or
you guys are wrong, and you're about to discover the truth. And at this board, you will become an enlightened one and also take an L.
Steven, who we mentioned earlier, has a phrase that he likes where if two people set up on the line, one of you is wrong.
Yes. Right?
And that's one of those situations where you're like,
right.
You know the matchup because you're not going to figure it out in time on the table.
You're like, we never even planned for, Crusher Stampede Tyranids or something. This is nothing. And then you're like, but this Crusher player has played into everyone else many times, and no one has played into a Crusher player. I don't know what he's about to do.
Yeah.
And then he's like, everyone on my list is a Zoanthrope. And you're like, I've missed something. Something is wrong.
It'll be interesting when you get to turn 3 and you're in solid control of the game, but you still have that back of your brain, I still don't understand it and I'm still afraid.
Yeah, what is going on with this list? Yeah, we've all been there.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've said it a couple times now. I think Necrons will be a solid participant in 5- and 8-man tournaments. Not the standout stars, not the Eldar of the Codex, but here for at least another 6 months while our Codex is still new and fresh.
Yeah. If you made it through all of that with Walter and I, impressive. Congratulations. We've been talking about Necrons here for a hot minute. Hopefully there were some tidbits of information in there that were interesting, a little bit more than just reading the data sheets, a little bit more thought. We appreciate you taking time with us, and have a good day.
Yep. Like, comment, subscribe, and call Colin a mean name in the comments.
See y'all later.
See ya.